Hey guys, it's Tom out there on my nightly constitutional, and I wanted to come to you. Originally, I was going to do a little riff on Marxism. What is Marxism? But it came to me that before I turn to that question, and apologies for the audio, by the way, I'm on the street and so forth. I wanted to turn to another topic of relevance, and that pertains to the issue of censorship, the public discourse, the public conversation in general, and the great deal of energy being expended in connection with those themes. The most recent occasion of such exercise has been the claim, I believe somewhat specious claim, of the American President Donald Trump that the search results in Google are unfairly defamatory of his person. And the reason why I want to suggest that those claims are specious is the nature, the mechanism whereby those search results are attained. My understanding is that those are not generically derived results. Google and Facebook and many platforms actually tailor the output of their searches to reflect the input of things like the history of the users who are undertaking this search. And the consequence of that modification is actually, if you like, a sort of ratification of confirmation bias. And if a person tends to look for things which are critical of Donald Trump, or Donald Duck for that matter, you're going to find that over time the search results will increasingly yield outcomes that reflect criticism of Donald Trump or Donald Duck. And contrary-wise, if they have a esteemed or positive viewpoint and they search accordingly, the search results will similarly reflect that more positive orientation. And because that is the mechanism, or a very significant contributing part of the mechanism, in my understanding, I'm open to being corrected if I am amiss here, whereby Google operates, the allegation that some kind of political disposition on the part of Google itself is interfering in the outcomes doesn't really have much traction. Now, that's all rather a kind of technical matter that I gloss as a preface to another, what I consider to be more serious issue with the manner in which these questions are being framed, whether it's vis-a-vis Google or Facebook or the internet in general. There is this at times almost apoplectic concern that perspectives that are considered incoherent, aberrant, extreme, are able to present themselves on the internet in a way which potentially undermines the quality of public discourse altogether. And probably the most notable, and in response to this furor, you have things like people like Alex Jones being censored by Facebook and other platforms, and things to this effect. Now, here's what's amiss, right? Okay? What's amiss is it doesn't really matter from where I stand as to whether someone like Alex Jones or Joe Schmo's perspective is coherent or edifying. What matters is that they have an opportunity for expression, even if that expression is is vulgar and execrable and despicable. And concomitant to that conviction is the position that we all, as intelligent human beings, have a capacity to exercise discretion in assessing the materials which we seek out and which we encounter. So the lie in pointing fingers at Facebook for allowing Russian meddling, that is a handful of Russians bought some Facebook ads, right, in the U.S. election, or allowing Alex Jones a Facebook page. The problem with that is it indicates a fundamental lack of faith in we, as human beings, to make up our own minds. And as soon as you lose track of that axiom, as soon as you lose track of the point of departure where we all have the ability to contribute in a meaningful way to the public conversation at large, you open the door to thought control. All right? You open the door to opinion no longer being the outcome of reason and discussion, but the determination of a putative authority on high. And that is exactly what has been happening with an increasingly and distressingly accepted license by shifts in policy, by social media platforms, actors on the internet, the press, or certain elements of the press, I should say, to qualify that, not to mention the government itself. So, lamentably, these remarks that I'm advancing may be heard by some as having an almost conservative feel to them. I say lamentably because I am a man of the left. All right? I'm a man who wants society to move forward, and the political orientation which moves it forward is, from where I stand, on the left. Unfortunately, many on the left have lost track of what things like free speech mean as being integral to our own vision. The fact is that this isn't just a question of whether one's on the left or the right. The imperative toward free, untrammeled speech as a basis of public discourse and genuine democratic society is something which really goes beyond demarcation at one or another point in the political spectrum. Nonetheless, we of the left, we who want to identify ourselves as progressive, must be far more circumspect and chary to concede so much as we have to the notion that it is appropriate to censor certain voices, even if those voices are absolutely abominable. We owe it to ourselves as an act of faith in the strength of our own position. We do not need to rely on the specious mechanism of government or corporate suppression to guide the conversation. We have our values which resonate with the human heart, and that is sufficient to move us in the right direction. So those are some remarks that I offer here today, and go put them out here. And I will follow up, by the way, with a little gloss on Marxism in the coming days. Alright guys, thank you. This has been Tom. I'll catch you later. Ciao for now.